I've owned this Harvey Band Saw for about 8 months now, and I've had this Laguna Band Saw the past 4 years. These are both terrific machines, but they're a lot different, and in this video I want to show you the difference between these two machines in case you're trying to decide which one's right for your shop. Now let's be honest, both of these machines cost a lot of money, thousands of dollars, and you want to spend your money and know that your machine's going to last you for the rest of your life. And the thing that I like the most about the Harvey Bandsaw is that the top and many other components on here are nickel plated. And what that means for you is that your machine is going to be in super good shape for the rest of your life. It's not as susceptible to corrosion. You can set water bottles and drinks on it. You can even pour water directly on here. I could leave this overnight, come back out here, and there's not going to be any rust. There's another YouTuber named 731 Woodworks. He did a really extreme test on this, and he left this thing out in the rain, and there was no rust on the tabletop, and I thought that was super impressive. But Harvey didn't stop with just the tabletop being nickel plated. The flywheels, the top and bottom, they're both completely nickel plated. The worm gears underneath and the entire bottom side of the table, those are nickel plated. So this machine was built literally to last a lifetime, whether you're in any environment. If you get a lot of humidity in your shop, you're definitely going to want to spend the extra money on the Harvey Bandsaw. Now I wish that my Laguna Bandsaw shared the same technology, but unfortunately it doesn't. And in my old shop, I used to have this by my garage door. So if I would open the garage door after it got done raining, there would be some extra raindrops that would come down, and they ended up getting all over this bandsaw. And I've had to clean this machine up several times. It made me so angry when I would find out that one of, my wife or my kids, they'd open the garage door after it's raining, and then I would know for sure that I was going to walk out there to a damaged machine and have to spend the time fixing it up. And honestly, I've never gotten it back to perfect. Now the mobile base on the Harvey Bandsaw is super sweet. This is the M1500. They have an M1500 Pro. Now, so I have the one that's a step down. This base doesn't come included with the bandsaw. It's $300, and the Pro is $470. Now the difference in these two, with the 1500 and the Pro, is that these have two wheels that are fixed on the back, and then these two wheels on the front can pivot. And that one's perfect for me. The other one, the 1500 Pro, all four wheels can pivot. So you can literally turn this machine in a 360 degrees. But for this one, to release the brake pedal, you just lift up on it like that, and then you can easily move this thing back and forth with not much effort at all. And you can still turn it if you need to. I don't do that all that much because mostly I have my bandsaw against this wall. I just brought them out here for this video. And if I need more room to, rip or resaw longer boards, then the only adjustment I need to make is forward and backward. So I think you can save some money and definitely go with the cheaper base. But it's a lot better than the Laguna Bandsaw base, which I'm going to show you right now. So Laguna doesn't exactly have a mobile base. They refer to this as their wheel kit. And this is something that's also aftermarket as well. So it's not going to come included with your bandsaw. The price tag for this is $150. It's half the price of that, but I think it works about half as good. So that would make sense to me. But to move it around, you just lower that foot pedal like that, and then you can move it pretty smoothly to the left and right. I wish that I was able to move it smoothly this way, because whenever I need more room to rip longer stuff, I need more adjustment this way. And there's no easy way to do that. You kind of just have to pivot it a lot. It doesn't work as well, so I like the mobile base on the Harvey a lot better. But next, I wanted to go over these dual dust ports that you see here. I really like these, and I wish I was able to utilize both ports, but I can't. I just have a Harbor Freight dust collector. I don't have enough hoses to run to this thing. So what I opted to do was to cap off this one, and I only use this dust port. But if you do have the capability to run 2 hoses to your machine, definitely do that. You're going to get a lot better dust collection. Now right here is your 3 horsepower motor. So what that means is you're going to need 220 volt power in your shop. So if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to run this machine. But the reason I like having the higher horsepower motor is that using my 3/4 inch blade to resaw is a lot easier on this machine than it is on the Laguna, since that motor is only 1 3/4 horsepower. Now right over here, this is a brake pedal so that you can slow down the blade a lot faster, which I really appreciate because the rundown time on a bandsaw blade takes forever and it's dangerous. You can forget about it, accidentally cut yourself. So let's take a look at that real quick. Okay, so I got a stopwatch right here, and first I'm going to power up this bandsaw, shut it off, and then we'll see how long it took to properly run down. Alright, it's on. As soon as I turn it off, I'm going to press start. Okay. Alright. That took 21 seconds to run down. Alright, so next, we're going to fire it up, and then once I hit stop, I'm going to press the brake and press start. As soon as I hit the thing, I'm going to press start, and we'll get the rundown time using the brake. Alright, it's fully running. We're going to hit these 2 at the same time. Well, I just saved 15 seconds of my life. Clocked in at 5 seconds. I love it. Now let's try that same test on the Laguna, which has no brake, and see what the rundown time is. Alright, here we go. I'm going to shut it off. We'll let that run down. Okay. Well, that took 31 seconds. So, like I said, the rundown time kind of takes a while. It could be unsafe. So I really like that the Harvey has a brake to be able to shut down a little faster. Next, let's talk about this fence. I love this fence. This is great. It feels like a table saw fence because it's a T-glide fence. It moves back and forth super smooth. There's this little like ball bearing type thing that rides along the back rail, and that's what allows this thing to, you know, move back and forth so smoothly. There's also plenty of adjustment in this thing, so you can adjust the fence for square or square this way towards the blade. It's really nice. The fence is super tall, 6 inches tall, a little over 24 inches long. And this is the setting that I have it in probably 90% of the time. But there's also a low setting you can do. And to do that, you can slide it off, flip it on its face, and then you can just slide it back on it like that. And now you have your low setting. Like I said, I rarely do this. It's mostly in the high setting, and that's probably why I was struggling to get it set in the low setting. It was definitely an operator error. It's It's not the machine's fault, I promise. So I'm going to set that back up like how it should be. Okay, now that that's set back up how it should be. One other thing I want to talk about with this fence is the scale indicator. There's a nice little like reticle, just like you have over on your table saw. It's got this nice sight glass, and you can really see where you're setting your fence. And I like that a lot. Before we move on to the Laguna Fence, last thing I want to point out is just how easy it is to remove this fence. There's many cases when you're using a bandsaw where the fence might just get in the way. And with the Harvey one, it works just like a table saw fence. You can just lift it straight out and set it right back in when you need it again. Now you'll notice this fence rail is obviously drastically different than the Harvey. It's really just a steel bar. And that's it. It's not like the T-Glide, you know? So there isn't as much adjustment here. There is 3 Allen keys back here. So 4 actually, so you can make a little bit of adjustment. But this fence, you can do that high-low setting just like on the Harvey. There's your low setting. And I'm going to put it right back into the high setting where, like I said, I keep mine most of the time. To remove the Laguna bandsaw fence, you have 2 options. You can either first remove the fence like that, but if this still is in your way, you can just slide this off. But if you want to remove it all in one piece, get that fence back installed. If you want to remove it in one piece, you can come you got to come right in between this handle and right here. And then I have to shift my fence back a little bit so it's even with the end of the table. And then that gives me enough room to tilt it up like that. And then I got to come over here and I can slide it off. Now as far as the dimensions of the fence go, it's a little bit smaller than your Harvey, but everything on this saw is kind of smaller. So anyways, this fence is 5.5 inches tall versus the 6 inches on the Harvey, and it's 18 inches long versus the 24 inches on the Harvey. And lastly, let's just go over the scale that you have to reference. It's not as good as the Harvey. All you have to reference is this little tape right here, and when you slide it over, you kind of lose sight of your numbers, and the fence will cover, like if I want to set it at 5 inches right here, once I slide the fence over, I'm covering the 5. I don't know, could be a little more confusing, but then again, bandsaws usually aren't for like super meticulous work. It's not usually over critical, like where your fence position is at. In some instances it may be, but most times it's not a big deal for me. While we're over here, let's check out the blade guides on the Laguna bandsaw. So I'm just going to give you a rundown on how to adjust everything. You can move this one to slide it forward for that back support right there. Once you get that where you want it, you can lock it in. And then this one, you can slide this whole contraption forward and back like that. Once you get that where you want it, lock that one in. And then these two are to adjust these blocks in and out. Not a bad little system. Now on the Harvey one, they have this little knob back here, so you can move this big bearing to support the back of your blade. And then your side supports, you can adjust the in and out. The same knob is on the other side to move the other one, and you can move that in or out wherever you need it. Now to adjust these bearings for how close they are to your blade, you'll have to turn these. And personally, I'm not able to turn these by hand. So I like to use a little pair of vice grips, and you can see as once you turn that, you can really dial that in. And I think that the The adjustments on the Harvey bandsaw give you a lot more control. Things aren't wiggling around as much. They all operate way more independent than the Laguna adjustments do. And so I do prefer this because this is not something you're going to tinker with every day. You want to kind of set it and forget it. But yeah, how you're able to dial this in on the Harvey bandsaw is super nice. Also, check this out. I was really impressed with this. This saw has a lot of adjustments that you can make, and you need a lot of different Allen wrenches. But I really like this feature. It's neat, it's organized. You have a place to store all the Allen wrenches that come with the machine, and I just really love the onboard storage of that. And then up here, this is how you go to turn on the machine, and it has some safety features. You get a key here, so if you got kids at home, you can lock it, and no one's going to be able to turn this thing on. But to turn it on, we'll set it to unlock, and then you can click it on. And to shut it off, you press that button. Now I'm going to hit my brake so I don't have to wait 15 seconds. That's great. But remember, when you go to turn it back on again, you can't just hit the green button. You got to pop that out first, and then you can turn it on. Now, Harvey didn't stop at just a simple key for the only safety feature. Another big one is how you can't turn this thing on if these doors are open. First of all, could you imagine accidentally turning this machine on while this is open? Maybe you're doing a blade change, you forgot to unplug it. That would be terrifying. But they thought about everything here, and there's a sensor up here, and there's a sensor down here. So with these doors open, I have it set at unlock, and I'm going to try and turn on the machine. And it's not going to power on. Even if you have just one door closed and you try and turn it on, it will not turn on until these doors are shut and these sensors know that everything's good to go. So now both doors are shut. Power that thing up. I like that feature a lot. Gives me a little more peace of mind. Now with the Laguna, you don't have nearly as much adjustments, so that's probably why they didn't include as many Allen wrenches or any onboard tool storage. But so to turn on the machine, you just have to pull out this button right here. Now I'm not going to make you guys wait 20 seconds. I'll just cut the video. Okay, now that that's off, I want to share with you the safety setting that's available for the Laguna. So if you don't want your kids coming out here and turning on your machines, there's this little plastic yellow key that pops out. And with that popped out, if I go to turn on the machine, it won't turn on. So that's great. I'm glad it at least has that safety feature. Now I like that safety setting, of course, so you can restrict your machines from being turned on when you don't want them to be turned on. But unlike the Harvey bandsaw, this one doesn't share the same safety features of that sensor when you open the door. So I have the doors open right now, and I'm going to stand safely behind the machine and turn this on just to show you that it still turns on, which is scary. It's scary. All right. Okay, now that's off. I can shut my doors now and not do that again. Next, let's check out how to adjust the angle of the table on the Laguna bandsaw. Now to adjust this table, all you have to do is loosen these two knobs down here, and then there's a scale up here. And then to move it, you literally just pick up on the table and tilt it. But you do have to hold it in position and tighten these knobs at the same time. And that might be a little tricky, especially if you're trying to set like a super critical angle. You have to maintain that pressure of the table while you lock it in place. If you plan on working a lot with your table tilted at an angle, you're definitely going to like this Harvey one a lot more. To change the angle on this, we loosen the handles here and over here. And you got a little scale to read as well. Now there's this gas piston over here that makes tilting this table a lot easier. To tilt the table up this way, I like to apply pressure here, and then I can use just one hand to turn this wheel. If I don't pull down on this, I find it a little harder, especially when you're starting from zero. It's a little harder to do. You can do it. But to make it a little easier on yourself, apply some pressure here. That'll make that smoother. And then no matter where you stop, it holds the angle. So it's quite a bit easier. Now when you lower it, you can easily lower the table and square it back up using just one hand. And then once you get it where you like, you can just lock those knobs in place. Last thing I want to cover, and honestly the one thing that I wish Harvey did differently about this machine, is when it comes to this gauge for setting the tension on your blade. Now if you're a super experienced bandsaw user, you can probably set the tension by just listening to it, eyeballing it, feeling the blade. But for beginners, it's good to have a nice gauge that tells you how tight your blade has to be according to, you know, what width blade you're working with. All they give me is this little graph right here. And so obviously the thicker the blade, the higher this little red indicator has to be, right? And I opened up their manual to look for hopefully some more detail. And it literally just says, tighten the blade by the blade tension lever, which is this, and then rotate the blade tension hand wheel until the blade is properly tensioned. That's it. That's all the guidance I got. But what I've come to realize with actually using this thing is that with the blade under tension, I can't really adjust the tension by moving this. I need to first release it, and then to turn it, if I turn it to the right, it'll bring it under more tension. But now I've lost sight of my gauge because I had to release the tension, right? So that's just one thing I think could be improved upon. Let's go over and check out the Laguna one. So I brought you guys around back here real quick just to get a shot at the tension lever. So right now the blade's under tension. To take it completely off tension, we just lower it like that. But with this one, you can have the blade fully tensioned and then turn this wheel and be able to adjust the tension on your blade. Now this is why I love this adjustment on the Laguna Band Saw. You get this nice little indicator right here, and then it, you know, clearly says 1/8, quarter, 3/8, half, 3/4. Now I got a 3/8 inch blade on here, so I want that to be around that line. And I can adjust the tension by turning this wheel while it remains under tension. And so Laguna definitely did a good job on this feature. Now I almost forgot to show you guys about this little contraption. This is the Compass RG2, which is basically a featherboard on steroids. And this thing comes included with the Harvey Band Saw. So real quick, I want to show you how this works. It just slots into your T-slot like that. So you can slide that in there, and then you put your workpiece up against it, up against the fence. Push that there. We're going to dial this back to 0. And then once that's pressed up against there, we can tighten the knobs. If you want to add even further pressure, you just turn this little knob right here, and that adds pressure. Now these rollers, they only rotate in one direction. So the feed direction is pointing that way right now. The wheels will rotate that way, but they will not rotate back. So I like this a lot. I actually just used this a ton the other day. I was resawing a bunch of boards. And it's nice because all I had to do was focus on pushing the board through the blade and not applying that pressure up against the fence. This did all the work for me. Now, I love both of these bandsaws. That's why they're still in my shop, and I'm not going to get rid of either one of these. I love having two bandsaws because with my Laguna, I have my skinnier blade always set up so I can cut curves. And then on my more powerful Harvey bandsaw, I keep the 3/4 inch blade installed at all times so that I can quickly resaw material. These bandsaws right now, I wanted to go over the price real quick as of today. This one is $3,400. That's the regular price, but it's on sale at the moment for $2,900, and it has free shipping too, so that's pretty sweet. But remember that the M1500 base is not included. That's a $300 add-on. So the Laguna bandsaw, I just checked the price today, and it is $1,600 for this machine. And the wheel kit is $150, and it's not included. So I love both of these bandsaws. They're going to stay in my shop. But for you watching at home, if you can only afford to get one of these bandsaws or you only have room for one, let me know down in the comments which bandsaw you prefer. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this detailed look at both of these bandsaws. Leave any questions and comments below, and I'll see you next time.